This is Emme Hall. You are listening to the Truck Show podcast. Yeah, buddy.
That'll have to work. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Truck Show podcast. We've got a great show today, and a quasi-okay co-host. You may know her from such drops as...
5-star review! 5 stars!
Or...
Yeah, buddy!
I know a few of you have wanted to have her on the show to co-host since I took this over on my own. So I lured her into the pod shed with a Dr. Pepper, a Diet Dr. Pepper. Diet Dr. Pepper.
Diet.
But first, of course, we have to do the business of the day, so we have to thank our sponsors. The Truck Show podcast is presented by Nissan. Looking for a new truck or family hauler? Then you'll want to head down to your local Nissan dealer and put your eyes on the robust and reliable fresh and 25 Nissan Frontier or the all-new luxurious and capable 25 Nissan Armada full-size SUV. Either way, you get legendary Nissan ruggedness along with all the features you're looking for in a new body-on-frame vehicle. Point your browser to nissanusa.com and see how Nissan has the perfect vehicle to fit your needs. If you love your truck as much as we do, then why not give it the best synthetics money can buy? AMSOIL is not only the leader in synthetics, but also the first in synthetics. Started by fighter pilot Al Amatuzio in 1972, AMSOIL continues to innovate with a wide selection of synthetics. Available for just about any application, including automotive, power sports, industrial, racing, small engine, high mileage, and more. Whether you need oil, lube, grease, transmission fluid, car care products, and even filters or oil change kits, you'll find everything you need at amsoil.com. And EGR USA is your one-stop shop for quality and well-thought-out truck accessories. For over 50 years, EGR has been the leader in truck accessories. Take, for example, the adventure-ready Roll-Track tonneau cover. Designed to turn your truck bed into a secure and sealed space, the Roll-Track gives you instant access to your truck bed by sliding out of the way. Available in power or manual modes, the Roll-Track also includes T-slots into the rails so that a variety of accessories like crossbars or bed racks can be attached to it. EGR's catalog also includes flares, LED lights, rain guards, bug deflectors, sports bars, and more. Head on over to EGR USA today to find out what accessories they have for your truck. If you're a truck guy, then you're definitely a knife guy, and we want to extend to Truck Show podcast listeners one of the best knife deals you'll find thanks to our generous partnership with Kershaw Knives. Truck Show podcast listeners can get 40% off MSRP and free shipping over $50 by using the code 25TSP40 at checkout. It can be used more than once and even includes automatics. All Kershaw knives, regardless of price point, come with a limited lifetime warranty, and repair parts such as pocket clips, screws, and springs are available through the website. Kershaw knives also include a lifetime sharpening, and the lineup has everything from EDC knives that can be used and abused for under $50 all the way up to high-end collectibles. Support the Truck Show podcast and get yourself a Kershaw knife today. Kershaw.kaiusa.com. And when it comes to amazing adventure content, how-tos, and great storytelling, only one brand is doing it right in the print magazine space, and that's OVR Outdoor Vehicle Recreation. OVR is about getting out there in our vehicles to explore and discover the world around us. Get complimentary access for a year to the digital library or a discount on your print subscription today at OVRmag.com. Use the promotional code @TruckShowPodcast. The Truck Show podcast survives off your reviews and sponsorships, so please help me to keep it free by leaving reviews and comments on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and by supporting our sponsors.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel, electricity, and on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your host, Holman.
That's right. What's up, everybody? I'd like to welcome, for the very first time, if you can believe that, Emme Hall to the pod shed.
I'm in the pod shed. I'm in the pod shed. Dude, this is so nice. I did not think that you were going to have a pod shed this nice.
Okay, so I always love hearing when people come here, because we called the pod shed, and when Jay was here, he would be like, "Oh, it's just a root, like a shed in your backyard." And I think people thought we took out gardening equipment and then just moved in podcast equipment. But like, this is this is the first time you've been here. Like,
Yeah.
like I want to hear about it.
Well, when I think about the shed that's in my backyard,
Yeah.
which I'm like, I could.
You
never,
also have a bathtub in your backyard.
I do because I live where it's hot and I'm too cheap to have a pool. But when I look at that, I'm like, it would take a lot of work to make that into something that is actually like livable. I mean, this has like real walls and a real floor. There's an air conditioner. There's a Dr. Pepper refrigerator. Like, this is dope. And it's also clean, which I didn't expect from you, Holman.
Well, thank you. You also entered my house and told my wife, "Oh, this is like
It's like a grown-up house.
A grown-up house, yeah.
You guys,
which is
you don't
funny.
even understand. There's like a formal living room and a formal dining room, and then there's like the kids area and stuff. It's a real house.
Well, you guys don't understand because Emmy and I only see each other like on the road and like at some like resort or hotel or in some dirty truck somewhere or whatever. So I'm sure it's odd for her to go like, "Oh, this is how you live? Oh, this is way different than what I thought."
This is not what I thought. I thought you lived in some cave hovel, but
Yeah.
I mean, Denise would never allow that.
No,
so.
she wouldn't.
No, she keeps you on the straight and narrow.
That's true. And she does super annoying things like I'm cooking and she's putting ingredients away behind me, but sometimes it's in front of me. And I'm like, where's that thing? I thought you were done. I'm like, stop, clean when I'm done.
You know how to solve that problem?
New wife.
No.
Oh.
Well, no, just don't get married in the first place. And also don't cook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Solid. Don't
yeah.
cook.
Yeah, just eat all your meals over the sink out of a bowl.
I
So
do.
cereal and
That's
soup.
hard because I do enjoy cooking. So
Yeah, you do. You always post on Facebook like, "Ooh, look, I've bruised
Yeah.
my meat."
yeah, and then I'm like, hey, look at this big piece of smoked savory brisket fall floppy for you, and then
Meanwhile, I'm eating frosted flakes
yeah, your frosted
over
flakes.
the sink.
I would invite you, but you live like
I know,
8
I
hours
live
away
far.
in the middle of the desert.
I mean, not 8
okay,
hours.
let me
but-
ask you this.
Okay.
I have my summer party every year in August.
You have your slumber party?
Summer. Would you drive all the way out here for that? If
In August?
if it meant free barbecue and being at the beach in August.
Are there any single guys there that would be
Yeah,
cute?
oh, totally.
Okay, then sure.
All right, I'll add you to the
Yeah,
list.
yeah. You better invite me. It's me.
That's true. That's true. It is you.
It's me.
I
And
just don't know how you're going to be around grown-ups. See, I feel like, you remember when Manny Rodriguez was on the Dodgers and then he would do all these antics? They're like, oh, it's just Manny being Manny because they knew him.
Right. Yeah.
That's how it's going to be if you come to my house. It's just Emmy being Emmy. Like the ones who know you, great. The ones who don't will be like,
They're like,
whoa.
I
Yeah,
know, I know. No, that happens. I got to prove that, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but I
Yeah.
did get to prove that at the Dakar rally
Okay.
with the Ford PR guy.
We are going to talk about that. I do want to say that my wife had never met you before, and she said, I can't wait to meet Emmy. I want the full Emmy. And I emailed you and warned you. I'm like, I told my wife there is only one Emmy. There is no two speeds.
No.
Yeah.
It is full speed all
Yeah,
ahead.
all the
Although
time.
I've been shooting all day today, so I am a little tired, and this is only my 5th Diet Dr. Pepper.
Oh, you'll be fine. You have
Yeah.
guzzled that. And
I know. Do you have another one? I asked for 2.
I know, and I got you pizza instead of a second one of those. But we can Uber Eats or something
I have
if you
to
need it.
go right now.
Oh man, you just came for dinner and leave. Typical woman. I'm not dating you. You don't have to leave. Where's my drum roll?
Life?
Hey, check it out.
Nice.
Guys, I'm still getting used to where all the buttons are on this thing.
Did Jay was always pushing the buttons? Before?
Yeah, that was him. That's why there were so many things. And we-
Oh my God! Excuse me.
Wow.
Not really.
I don't do. You know what I should do? I should just bleep that out.
No, don't bleep it out. It's
Should I just
perfect.
leave it?
Yeah, that's
That was
perfect.
pizza and Diet Dr. Pepper. So everybody who asked me to have Emmy on the show, you get what you asked for. Yeah. Sometimes you get what you asked for. All right. So the reason you're here is because you and I both went on a very similar trip. Not the same trip.
No, definitely not the same trip.
So you texted me and you go, dude, I'm going to Dakar. And I'm like, dude, me too. You're like, cool. We're going to hang out in Saudi together. And I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And then I'm like, when do you leave? You're like, January 6th. I'm like, I'm going to be gone. And you realized, oh, there's multiple waves.
Yeah, I thought for sure they were just gonna like put all the Americans together
Yeah.
and we were all gonna go in
was
one way.
not
but
how it was at
that
all.
was not the thing.
No.
And
I was in first and then you came in after me.
right in the first wave though. You were just there for the prologue, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay. Well, first of all, do you think your listeners even know what the Dakar is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You think they
Yeah,
do?
yeah. In fact, I've had people say, oh, I can't wait to hear your coverage from Dakar.
Okay.
Dakar if you're an American, Dakar if you're
No,
international
it's
and special.
It is the Dakar.
I feel like there's a lot to talk about. So Ford invited us out. They flew us halfway around the world.
Business class. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Getting home was tough. I started my watch from the second I left the hotel at Bisha and then turned it off when I got to my driveway. It was 43 hours.
No way.
Yeah, I had a 12-hour layover in Riyadh, and I had a 6-hour layover in London, and 4 airports and 3 countries later, and I was literally on the other side. In fact, New Year's for me happened while I was flying.
Oh, I did see that.
I'm like, oh, it's New Year's or something like that. So that was interesting. I haven't done that before. So it was pretty cool. I will admit I really enjoyed the experience. Saudi Arabia is a lot different than I thought it would be. You know, I think when people think of the Middle East, right, they think of Dubai.
Right. Where everything's like new
Western
and shiny
and new
and like big tall buildings and
That's
stuff. It's
not. No. Where I was in Saudi actually kind of reminded me more of Mexico.
Me too.
And Baja.
Yeah. You look at it and you think like, why is that empty, abandoned building there? Like the abandoned hopes and dreams.
Once you get outside of the city a little bit, it's kind of like Tijuana or even some places in Baja where the infrastructure from the state is good. It's a 4-lane highway. There's lights going on. But when you look out into it, there's no curbs.
Yeah.
Some of the streets are dirt.
Yeah.
You know, there's just like a house growing out of dirt. There's not like a nice neighborhood. And I was like really surprised by that.
I always thought that everybody had a piece of oil money, but now I'm like, maybe that's not true.
No, and it's interesting. Half the people are in Western or dressed down. Half the people are traditional. A lot of the women's are in the hijabs and they can't talk to you.
Yeah.
But a lot of them have hospitality jobs or immigration jobs, so that's the only time you can really talk to them.
Right.
And I noticed like the women who just had their eyes visible, their eye makeup was on point because it's like that's what they have,
that's
right?
That's all you can do. That's all you can do. But and also, did you notice at the airport there was separate security for men and women?
Yeah, separate security, and then I noticed a lot of not mixing and things like that. And anyway, it was just it was a lot of culture shock, and it was just a lot different. The food was pretty good. You know what's funny is there's some Mexican influence. We had jalapenos, we had fajitas, and things like that.
And there's like the beans in the morning.
The beans in the morning,
oh,
so good.
It's so good.
The hummus was awesome. A lot of vegetables like tomatoes and onions and cucumbers, things that you would have here. And then,
but everything's super fresh, and like the fruit is amazing.
The fruit's amazing. Everything's covered in what cumin, even like their croissants and stuff like that. But
and dude, the sweets. Like the desserts, the little tiny pastries. Oh my God, it was amazing.
So it was different than what I had thought it would be, but it was a great experience. I'm glad I went, got those stamps in my my new passport, the one that I had to expedite because I found out, and let this be a lesson to those of you, if your passport is within 6 months of renew, you better renew.
Yeah, you got to
So mine was in 3 months. I'm like, oh, good, it'll be my last trip on my passport. You need 6 months.
Yeah.
So I had to go through all that, had to get it expedited, almost didn't make the trip.
I know, I'm out of pages on mine. And so the guy's like flipping through it, and I'm just like, dude, you got to stamp it. I'm here, man. You got to stamp it. I'm here.
Yeah, totally. And then, we got there. I got there in Bisha, and Bisha is where the first stage in the bivouac. But everybody says it different. There's bivouac, like, whether you're European, whether you're from the UK, whether you're an American, it's crazy how many different ways there's to say that stupid word.
I would just call it the Biv.
The Biv, all right.
We were just at the Biv.
So I was at the Biv, which was super cool.
And it's like a whole city. I mean, if you guys have ever been to King of the Hammers in Hammertown, that's kind of what it's like.
It actually really was a lot like Hammertown.
Yeah, except that there's no vendors, but it's all it's set up the same way. Every single Biv that they go around to, I think there were like six or seven separate bivouacs. It's always set up the same, and there's like streets that you can follow, and there's a big mess tent, and there's like VIP areas and a media tent, and it's giant. Giant.
It's cool. You're walking around, a ton of security there. We saw the president of Czechoslovakia was there, or the Czech Republic, whatever the current name for it is.
Whatever they call it.
Yeah, and then one of the princes from Saudi came, and he had crazy detail as well. So the police everywhere. And by the way, driving in Saudi Arabia is nuts. The highway.
You think so?
Dude, we had 2-lane highways and people were passing 5 wide. Like somebody coming down the center and people moved. It was nuts.
I don't know.
Head-ons at 60.
I had driven there before. I had gone a couple of years ago for the Rally Jamil, which was the very first all-female...
because women just were allowed to start driving like 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago. So they had put together this rally, and they invited some Americans over to compete, to just kind of like, be... I don't know. I don't want to say influencers, but like just be like little inspirational, like, woohoo, we get to do this. And so, driving there, I was like, it's a little crazy. Like lanes are kind of just
everybody honks. We were telling our driver, we're like, is that happy honks or angry honks? He would just laugh. They're all angry honks.
But the driving wasn't too exciting because it's just a lot of like flat roads that are straight. It's
Yeah.
just I wasn't very excited by some of the pavement driving.
So I left, and when I left, it was kind of the start of the race, and then you came in.
Yeah. They just finished.
I was
So
gonna say-
I know who won.
Perfect, because we're going to talk about a couple of things. So I got some interviews with a few of the drivers. So let's go through that first, and then let's recap. One of the most impressive people there was Carlos Sainz Sr., who is like legend.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He is amazing.
But he had a rollover right away, and FIA made him drop out of the entire race.
I know.
Which is
Okay.
kind of messed up.
It's messed up from
He's
our
like the,
point of view.
Well,
for sure.
right. So that would be like if Ivan Ironman Stewart raced in Baja, had a rollover,
And they
they're
didn't
like,
let him go.
and you're like, you can't
I
go
know.
anymore.
I know, but the FIA is
They're strict.
They're so strict.
Yeah,
and
no
what
joke.
happened on that is that there was a bend in the roll bar and a crack in the roll bar, and it was the same thing that happened to Sebastian Loeb. So at least they were consistent throughout it.
Yeah,
but
which they haven't always been.
No.
Super controversial, those folks.
But it happened to me kind of sort of when I was doing the Gazelle rally in Morocco, and I was stupid and I kind of messed my truck up a little bit, and I bent the frame just a tiny little bit, and they were going to make me retire the truck. And I'm like, this is stupid. In Baja, we would just keep going. The truck's moving forward. We should just keep going. So that to us as American racers it's really, really hard to take. And I know that Ford they'd put together like this whole package and try to say like we can fix it and we can do this, and the FIA was like, no, you must retire the car. So by the time I got there, Carlos and his navigator Lucas, like they were gone.
Yeah,
never saw him.
Well, this is the interview that I had with him prior to the start of the race, and it was really nice for me to be able to sit down with a legend of Dakar. So here we go. Here with rally legend Carlos Sainz Sr., and he has joined Ford this year. He also started his career with Ford back in 1987, so it's kind of a full circle. But when I say legend, I mean it. He has won 26 WRC rallies, and he's been the a two-time WRC world champion. So we're going to sit down and have a conversation. Hello. I'm sorry, I'm coming in a little bit late on. Go ahead. You have a question? Just exciting to see you part of this program, and obviously switching over to Ford and being a part of this is a big deal. What made you decide to come over and be a part of this this venture this year?
Well, first of all, it is a factory project, which is important to have the good support from a car company. Secondly, I know well the people. I know well Malcolm. It's the third time I'm going to join him. I was his first factory driver in history, and the challenge to help Ford to win this race.
You started your career with Ford, right?
Yeah. That's why I say the challenge to help Ford to win this race is great. So I'm really pushing hard to.
You're essentially coming full circle in your career, right? I mean, you started at Ford, and now you're ending up here. A lot has changed since the beginning. The new cars are like spaceships compared to what you were racing back in the 80s. Maybe walk us through how far the sport has come for you from when you started to where we are today.
When I think about the 80s and now, it's amazing the evolution of the cars now. They were not only the cars, the suspension, the tires, the brakes, everything. You know. And it's nice to be part of the car industry in terms of motorsport and live and personally and help the industry to develop all these many new things we have been testing in competition. So at the end of the day, I'm also proud of that. And when I look backwards, it's amazing, no? The difference on the car.
Can you tell us a little bit about these cars and what makes these particular cars special? Ford and M Sport are fielding 4 of them, and they just look, I mean, the quality of the craftsmanship, just us walking around, but from an insider perspective, I would guess you're pretty proud of what they've put together to sign your name on with it.
In this project?
In this program, yeah. This car today, the Raptor T1.
Yeah, the Raptor, I said before, it's really matching all of my expectations, which are high.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But now it's the time to prove, and it's the time to see where we are. We saw in Morocco rally the 4 manufacturers entering this rally officially are very close, and 4. It's the only real new car because Dacia, yeah, it's new car, but at the end of the day, it's coming from the Hunter from ProDrive. We have completely new car, and that makes not easy to be very competitive, especially to go through the whole race without any problem.
When you look at one of the fundamental differences of this car versus other cars, a lot of them have turbo V6s, other powertrain. You guys have a big 5-liter American V8 based on the Coyote. What's it like driving a V8 car?
In terms of driving, it's nice, it's good. At the end, the noise is great. We are running a system from the FIA that assure that everybody is having similar or same power, which is the torque meter system. So the engine can deliver much more power than what we are using. So hopefully that is helping to have good reliability and shouldn't be any problem on that side. I'm happy.
Do you think that you'll have more reliability from the lack of a turbocharger or hybrid system or anything else?
The turbocharged engine that the Hunter, for example, was using last year is a 4 powertrain, and it was very fast, very reliable. At the end of the day, one thing which is important is the consumption, and we need to check also during this race how we are against the turbocharged engine. This is analyzed we will do during the race, and obviously after the race we will check.
I'm kind of curious with the V8, even though you are basically artificially limited to the amount of power output, because you don't have to wait for a turbo to spool up, is the power delivery smoother for you? Is it easier to drive because of that?
Today's turbocharged engines are really very, very nice. The drivability is nice. I don't think, frankly talking, that there is any advantage from turbo side or from atmospheric side, because the turbos are, the lag, turbo lag, or all that is history. It's not anymore.
Okay.
Pressure from this being Ford's first big effort here at Dakar. Obviously, they've competed before, but this is really a big factory effort for them. Do you feel a little bit more pressure from the Ford corporate side of things?
To drive in a factory team is always pressure, but I can guarantee you that I put on myself more pressure than Ford, because I want to always do my best. I want to always deliver, and I want to really push hard and to win my 5th Dakar with 5 different manufacturers. So pressure, yes, as expected.
And who is your biggest competition this year?
I don't know. If I have to say, probably the Dacia team with Nasser and with Sebastian Loeb. They won in Morocco this year. We could see the car was fast, but we will see. Dakar is always a box of surprises, so let's wait and see.
What's your, other than winning, what are you looking forward to the most in this race this year in 2025?
I'm looking for enjoying the race. I'm looking for a clean race, and then we will see. But that is my 2 biggest aim. So I don't know how do you say.
Do you enjoy the race? Is this still fun for you? You just mentioned putting more pressure on yourself than everybody else does.
I will not enjoy the race. I will not be sitting here for sure. At the stage of my career, you need to really push hard at home to be ready here. So. And to achieve that, you need to have a lot of passion, but also enjoying a lot.
Thank you for your time, and congratulations, and good luck out there.
Thank you so much.
All right, so Carlos,
he had so much hope at that moment, and then they would be dashed in the next couple of days.
Yeah, so right after I left, I think when I got home, I saw that he had gone off a sand dune and rolled, and it was pretty violent. And they were okay. Mitch was a few minutes behind him.
Mm-hmm. Got them pulled over, but they took off with 0 body panels. I think there were some things to fix in the suspension and all of that, but they were able to get going and finish the stage, which is awesome.
And then the FIA stepped in
and said, "Sorry, that's nobody for you."
Yeah,
Oh,
that
it's
was
so terrible. I feel so bad.
it's just one of those things. I'm sure when he got out,
Dude, that was painful.
I was really bummed because he really is a legend, and then for him to basically, roll in the FIA, not even to get kicked out because you destroyed your car. I mean, the car was Baja would have kept going.
Absolutely.
No, like not even
Absolutely, yeah.
not even a question. Now, one of your favorite drivers was Nanny, right?
Nanny is amazing. He's so nice, and he's so he's so happy to be there. And we sat down for an interview, and he's like he's asking us questions for the first 2 or 3 minutes. I'm like, we're boring. We need to talk to you, dude.
Yeah, no, he was great. So I was able to sit down, and then I got a quick interview with him. All right, I'm lucky enough to be with Ford driver Nanny Roma, who is Dakar legend. So back in the U.S., when we talk about Baja, there are very few people that are crossover drivers that did it on 2 wheels and 4 wheels. In Dakar, there's even less. There's 3. Yeah. So you are one of the legends of Dakar that have won on 2 wheels and 4?
Yes, I am. Yeah. This is great, that to have this opportunity in this life, that to be well in the 2 different professions, This means that bike it's one thing, car it's another. It's completely different in time of driving. This means it's great to be well in this both, and I really enjoy.
So have you retired from 2-wheel fully and into 4-wheel now, or would you go back? What are the differences? Why both? You just love the different disciplines?
It's completely different. Even if you spend time in the desert and the track, it's the same. It's one in bike you are completely alone. You make by yourself everything. This means that navigation, work in the route book, this means it's really intense. Even in driving alone, and in the car it's different. You share with someone. This means that you share with the co-pilot. You drive, and the co-pilot make all the stuff.
You've got a division of labor within the car that you don't have that luxury of on a bike.
Exactly, But from another point, if you have some talent to drive the car, my pass to the bikes it's helped me a lot to ride the desert. Okay.
Because you know how to pick lines. Because in a bike, if you mess up, that could be game over. In a car, is obviously more forgiving. So a lot of us who love off-roading, even in the states where I'm from, if you started out on bikes, you know how to read a trail a little bit better than the guy next to you didn't.
Exactly. We read well the tracks. We understand the navigation well. When my co-pilot told something specific, we take this. I understand. When in the dunes, ride the dunes, the color of the dunes, the color of the desert. We look a lot at that. This means that this helps, and definitely helps, but it's completely different technique of driving. You have 4 wheels. In some point, the line is similar, bike by cars, only that you have
width. Yeah.
The 2 wheels more in the side, but definitely helps a lot, and also we can make our career longer.
Yeah.
I'm now 52 years old, and in 52 years old in the bike, forget to be competitive. In the car, feel competitive,
So what's special about these cars? I know some of the things that our Ford wants to point out is the 5-liter Coyote V8 is huge. Most of these cars are turbocharged, small displacement, 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, things like that. As a driver, going into an American V8 powered car, what is that experience like?
This is great. The noise is amazing. This is something that before with the turbocharged, that the car that I raced last year or 2 years ago, and this it's also it's nice, the anti-lag and this turbocharger, it's great. But the V8 definitely it's the best noise, even from the public. When you saw the V8 arrive flat out, this noise, it's something amazing. This is one apart, but the rest it's also great to have these Fox suspensions. It's a good improvement. To be honest, in the beginning, after years to work with Ryger, we are not so pro to make something new. But just I am the first that I test Fox, and immediately I feel something special, And the guys are super good. Bobby and these guys are super good, super passionate, and also this is another thing that is different than the others. Everyone, all the teams are with Ryger, we are with Fox. yeah, we take different directions, I think. And sometimes in this motorsport world, if you like to make the difference, it's nice to take something different than others.
It's almost like you can look at it and look at your level of success and be like, I'm not going to get to the next level doing the same thing. And a little bit different with this thing is you have American engine, you have American suspension. That's pretty novel for Dakar. There hasn't been a lot of American involvement on that type of level before.
No, definitely not.
Privateers maybe, but not at a factory support.
Exact. And this is great to open this market that also from you are more than the Bajas, the cars with more travel suspensions, with you knows the track, you prepare well, you know everything. Here it's more, we don't know nothing.
Yeah.
This means it's completely different. But even like you say, for us, if you like to really make something different than another, why not to take complete different for everything? Maybe we are wrong, but maybe not.
Which you'll find out, and the desert will humble you one way or the other. The interesting thing too is you look around and there has been such a lineage of some of the other brands, Toyota, Mini, Lancia, a bunch of those different ones. Ford is coming in with 4 vehicles, all new from the ground up. It's not a tweaked chassis from something else. M Sport built these cars from nothing, with the expectation that you guys are going to win Dakar this year. What is that like?
You know, never in the history of Dakar someone won in the first year. This is definitely.
I mean, it's history. It's literally you're part of history here.
Yeah. But maybe we are here to change the history.
Yeah.
You know, Ford sometimes in this life, in this motorsport history, he changed. One time ago he beat Ferrari.
Yeah. Ford has a history of saying we want to go dominate this, right? And so they come in and they do it, and they have a long history of being able to do that. Do you look at your fellow drivers from other factory teams, and are they giving you the stink eye right now, going, "What are you doing over there?"
No, definitely sure that. I mean, once it's the team make the incredible job. Emme Sport make incredible job. I mean, this car. We talked with some journalists before. 1 year ago, it's in the computer, and I started work last year.
And here it is in person.
Now it's here.
It's amazing, by the way.
But 1 year ago, it's in computer. 1 year ago, I remember turning the car, modify this, try this, but it's in the computer.
Yeah.
After that, last year, in this time, start to build the first frame, and when we arrive in April, end of April, we start to test the first car, and now 4 cars here. You don't believe how hard it is from the team to do that. 4 cars built from zero.
4 gorgeous carbon fiber cars from zero. I mean, you look at the craftsmanship and it's amazing. And you're a pretty big guy. You're pretty tall. What was it like to make sure that the design was going to be comfortable for you? Because it's like a cockpit of a fighter jet on the inside.
But for me, I am the best car ever. I am the first driver to arrive, and he scanned my body, and I am the taller ones. It means that I fit well. But we try to work a lot in the comfort. You know, sometimes it's hard from the engineers' side. You know, the engineers make the car and forget that you have one driver and one co-pilot. Always forget that, you know. And after I say, all the engineers, even in Formula One, the guys forget that have someone drive.
Right.
And when the car is finished, we put you inside. No, we try to.
You have to build it around me. I'm the one driving it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when you stay 5-6 hours in the car, if the car it's kill you, all that you want from the performance side, you lose from the physical side. It means that we must to find a compromise. It means that it's important comfort, durability, and performance. This is important. With fast car, no strong, not good.
Not good.
Fast car, no comfort,
Also not good.
This means that 3 priorities, but comfort, durability, speed.
How does this car compare to previous race cars for you? Like when you sit in it and it wraps around you, like what goes through your mind?
You know, I work in the last Hunter pro-drive car. This means I start to build this project too. And with this car, a lot of mistake we did with this, we try to not reproduce. This means that the view, the comfort inside, the geometries of suspensions, we work a lot in that. The geometry is so important in cross country.
Yeah.
You start with 500 liters and you finish with 50 liters.
Yeah.
When you are 450 kilos different between the start, the geometry it's help a lot. After suspensions, but all the stuff like that, it's so important. This means that we work also a lot in that.
Especially on a fully independent car, right? Because the spring rates, as you get lighter by using your fuel, things start to change.
Change the position. Yeah. The car is more high. The more high you work in another page, this means that it's so important that to work well in that.
I'm curious. I was talking to Mitch, and Mitch has an extensive racing background in Baja and King of the Hammers. You being an international driver, are there any other races other than Dakar that you would love to go compete in sometime? Have you ever looked at those and said, that one, if I could ever do it? Because his was Dakar, and he's here. What about you as a professional driver?
Me, I really also look for to race one time the Baja 1000.
Yeah.
But it's always in the time. It was even when I am biker. Always I like to go, but it's just in our Dakar preparation.
Oh yeah.
And Baja it's not the one that you can only go racing and back. You are the pre-ride from weeks before, and it's long process. But sure, before that I retired, I like to go there with the truck, with the big car, and try to do that. Sure, I like to do this, one of these Bajas. Maybe not the 1,000, the 500 or someone, but the 1,000 is something that always I follow.
It's special. I mean, it is an amazing experience. If you ever do, I'm down there to watch it because I want to see the smile on your face when you cross the finish line.
No, we follow from, we love the sport, and I like a lot the sport in the US, the really, all the sport that the way that you make a sport, it's much easier. It's much easier than Europe. Europe, it's more about rules and rules and more rules. Yeah. And you are more say, okay, boom, open, go, flat, enjoy. Yeah. And this is I really love your style of make a sport, not only motorsport, in a sport in general. And I love, I like a lot America. And sure, one day you see me there, definitely.
I hope so. And we're a little bit more brash. We like to run into each other's trucks and stuff and push people out of the way. So it's a little bit more physical. But I really appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. A pleasure.
So Nanny wants to come do Baja. How rad is that?
God, that would be amazing. And you know what? I want him to do it in Class 11. So he really, really
So you bring up Class 11, which is the Volkswagens.
Yeah, the stock Volkswagen Bugs.
Okay, so the equivalent in Dakar is the Citroen 2CV people.
I know those
they're
people
crazy.
They're out of their minds. I love them so very much. But Nanny had a problem. I can't remember if it was a crash or a mechanical thing where he basically was put out of contention, but he was still able to continue. Mm-hmm. So for the rest of the rally, he basically was a rolling parts car for the other two teams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was really able to be that team player and be that support for the other two, for Mitch and Mitch and Kellen and Matthias and Emil. So I love the fact that he doesn't have any ego.
He didn't go home.
No, well, Carlos had to go home. He didn't have a car.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that he stayed with the team, it's kind of like if you get hurt, but you stay for the Super Bowl to cheer on your teammates, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Mitch, so it turns out Mitch lives like 10 minutes from me.
That's crazy.
And I had to go to frickin' Saudi Arabia
to meet him.
So I got a little bit of one-on-one time with him, and I saw him in the guide that Ford gave us with the bios.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, oh, yeah, this is an American, Mitch Guthrie Jr. And I'm like, the name sounds familiar. Well, his dad was big in rock crawling and stuff. And it turns out we know some of the same people and all that. So anyway, I picked him out of the crowd. You're not going to believe this because
he looks like he's 12 years old.
Because he was wearing Vans.
Oh, yeah, that's a Huntington Beach type of thing.
There you
go. Totally.
So here's Mitch Guthrie Jr. So I'm sitting with Mitch Guthrie Jr., who is a American. So I picked him out of the crowd because he was wearing awesome Vans that I just bought 2 weeks ago. And then I got my Vans too.
Yeah, it's a little different clothing, you know. We're a little different than the Euros, so it's nice to see some fellow Vans out here.
Everybody's got their Pumas or their Adidas, and you walk around, and you're like, ooh, an American. So I knew you were my people.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because when I first started racing here about 5 years ago, I didn't know anyone, and I've met a lot of the Europeans that are all our mechanics and engineers and everything, but now there's actually a lot of Americans here and a lot of friends from the USA racing, so it's more welcoming walking around the bivouac and seeing you guys.
Yeah, it's cool to see some friendlies. This is my first time to Saudi Arabia and was walking around the airport and did the whole trip. Normally on these media trips, you're like with a group, and I'm totally by myself, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And then saw a couple guys from this group. Didn't know them, but picked them out as Americans, kind of stuck together for the rest of the way. But this has been an amazing experience. What do you think of Saudi? You've been racing here for a few years now?
Yeah, I've been racing here. This will be my 5th year since the start of this rally. So no, it's amazing here. It's far away from home for sure. So it's a long trip, but
where's home for you?
California.
All right, I live in Huntington Beach.
Oh, okay. I live in Costa Mesa.
All right, so we're like right next door to each other. So I was literally
10 minutes away.
Yeah. We went all the way around the world to get an interview. I could just like met you at In-N-Out or something like that, right?
Exactly. Oh, that sounds good right now.
Doesn't it though? Dude, I haven't had a Dr. Pepper since my plane ride out here, and I'm like just craving Dr. Pepper right now.
No, yeah, I think like you said, it's nice when you're walking around, and now I think it all started, 5 years ago, like when we started doing this type of racing. There was just a few Americans. Now there's a lot of us, and then all the people back at home are getting into it. All the media is getting into it. So like having you guys out here is amazing, and it just brings more awareness to it. Because for me, I think it's the most incredible race in the world. It's insane. So having some presence here now with the Americans is amazing. People just need to learn about it. There's a lot to it, and it's hard to understand until like you now are here and you see it. So
well, it's funny because Dakar has always been like a mythical creature. So I worked at Motor Trend for 20 years. I ran the truck and off-road group, so four-wheeler and all those magazines and stuff. And we would get stories from freelancers on Dakar. We knew what Dakar is. You'd see the man trucks in the air and go, yeah, I want to go do that's cool. Robbie came out here, Casey came out here, or whatever. So we've had a little bit. But until you get here and realize like just how grand of a scale this thing is, all the different classes. I mean, on one end you have giant man trucks, on the other end you have Citroen like 2CV race cars, which are like the bugs of the Baja 1000, right? And you're just going, those are the insane people right there that are racing those. But I'm kind of curious. So just to let our audience know, you're very accomplished. You've won your class at Baja, King of the Hammers, UTV racing. You've been in a lot of different disciplines. Obviously, when you're in this side of the industry and you're racing, Dakar is one of those, like, the tallest ring you want to grab. How did you get into it? How did you work your way in from desert racing and USA racing and find your way into Dakar, basically?
Yeah, so, I mean, long story short, I grew up going to the desert with my dad and, my family, just for fun. My dad did racing. He did, rock crawling, which King of the Hammers is a bit different now. Back in the day, it was the slower stuff where...
We covered the very first ones back when it was just the small group of dudes, and then now to see what it is, you're like... Yeah, I remember when there's, 15 people out here or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's... My dad started racing way back then, and even before that, back in Johnson Valley, kind of actually made some of the trails out there. So we've just been into off-road for my entire life, been in the desert. And then I started racing trophy carts, which not everyone knows, but is a little mini trucks. And that's before Polaris or anything came out. So that was the brand new thing where youngsters could actually get started racing.
When Nelson first came out with those things, we got invited out to Glen Helen as media to drive them. And I mean, those things, you could huck them so far. And on the far end of Glen Helen, they had watered down the course. And I rolled twice out there. And they're like, seriously, dude? Because they stick and then they don't, right?
Yeah.
They don't slide. Right. Yeah, and it's awesome. That's fun. I've raced in the 1,000 before and been a part of the KOH crowd and all that. So it's just not a natural progression. Yes, you know how to pilot a vehicle, but these vehicles are way different than what you're used to out there.
Yeah, and that's what I started, and I always say it was one of the best learning things ever because those things are crazy. You found out, and they just stick a bunch of 14-year-olds in those and put 30 of them on the track at the same time.
Go to town, boys.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely cost my dad a lot of money on body panels and stuff. But no, yeah, thankfully my parents got me started. And then from there, Polaris came out. Originally it was Rhinos, Yamaha Rhinos, then Polaris. And then that kind of became like a big race series. And I did short course racing. Then the desert racing got big with the UTVs and Vegas to Reno, Baja, and all that. So I started doing that, had some success. And then finally, my like dream for my whole life was to get sponsored by Red Bull, just like probably anyone. So Red Bull approached me, and that's when it's like, hey, do you want to go race Dakar Rally?
Please tell me you looked at them and you're like, oh, let me think about it, right? You can't be too enthusiastic, right?
No, I didn't have a good poker face, so I said, of course, and I didn't know really anything about it, didn't know what it was really, because in the States, like, we didn't really ever learn much about it. So I said yes, and then arrived at my first Dakar and had no idea what I was doing. But no, that's how I eventually, worked my way up to, get here now. And thankfully, for this type of racing, it started with Red Bull because, there's a lot of the OGs like Carlos that are getting older, and like there's no young bucks coming in and trying to see what they can do. So to have the chance to like have all the issues and go through all the learning curves to like be here now with Ford and kind of, I'm not quite Carlos, I haven't done it 20 times or whatever, but I feel like I know what I'm doing now, and I feel like I've gotten better. So gone through all that stuff, and here we are now.
Well, I feel like you probably have had a crash course in passing on that, carnal knowledge that'll set you up. And you don't get that by knowing somebody, gets that by racing with somebody and kind of being in the trenches with them. And I think it's a pretty amazing experience. So Ford and M Sport work together. This is the very first year that Ford's come in with an all-new car, and they want to dominate Dakar this year. Like, they put everything in. There's 4 cars, so you're just one of the 4. Yeah. And I mean, what's that like where it's like, all right, well, we're fielding a bunch of, 4, we're putting everything behind it. No pressure, but we need to win it in our first year. Nobody's ever done that. Toyota's huge right now. The Hiluxes are kind of the dominating forces. The Minis are still doing really well out there. When you look around, what do you think about the ride you have versus what the competition is doing out there?
I feel good. They've put so much into it, like you just said. So like we have all the confidence in the world. So now they take care of everything. All the guys do amazing. The engineers, everything. So for us, it's like just go drive, do what you can. So I've been racing for a long time. I'm still young, but I've been racing for a long time. So I feel good. Like I know that we can do well. I have a lot of confidence in myself and Kellen, my co-rider. So I feel good, and we're going up against the best of the best for
Literally
sure. So it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, and I know that. But racing, you have to go in with confidence, and you can't really feel the pressure too much. If you have the pressure all over you, you're gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna be thinking about that all day. So for me, I've always said with racing is having fun is number one. You have to be enjoying it out here. So for me, it's like I just look at the opportunity I have. I'm super lucky to be where I am right now. It's the ultimate dream come true for any racer, really. So being in this position is amazing, and being surrounded by all these legends, Carlos right here and Nanny and Matthias. So I'm a lucky guy.
All right, let me ask you one more question, and that is, what is it like when you're racing with other competitors versus, desert racing, where people are nerfing you and they're, bumping you and passing you? Like, this is more of a gentleman's sport here, right? Like, how does it work? There's no big Nerf bars on these, like, multi-million-dollar one-off cars.
Yeah, when I started racing in the T3 class, one of the first things I asked was, where's the bumper? So there's that, and then, it's totally different. We have the Sentinel and the horns you use you have to trust that the person in front of you is going to let you over. They see it all, though. It's a whole nother side of things compared to desert racing in the States. Like, they know how many times you press the button and how far the person is in front of you. So, like, if someone doesn't let you buy it, they're going to get a penalty. So it's just a totally different way of things, like how they work, but it works. And I don't know if you could call it a gentleman's sport, but it's different. It's different.
Well, really appreciate your time and good luck. And I'm telling you, if you win, if you don't win, whatever, I'll meet you at your favorite burger spot in SoCal, and then I'll buy you lunch.
All right. Well, I'll see you at In-N-Out. Thank you.
I love that he's like,
dude,
yeah, In-N-Out, baby. Oh man.
I told him, I'm like, hey, dude, In-N-Out. He goes, that sounds so good right now. Because we're in the middle of nowhere. They have Burger King in Saudi Arabia. So here's my rule. if I'm somewhere new, I don't get what I get at home. So I broke my rule in the Riyadh airport because I'm like, I just have to know. Because they had the steakhouse burger, the Whopper, and it had bacon, and bacon's not allowed in the country. And so I'm like, and the lady's
Yeah,
like,
but was it in the international terminal?
Yeah, but it was turkey bacon.
Oh, fascinating.
And so I'm like, so the burger tastes just as crappy as all the other Burger Kings, but the bread was a little bit worse. But overall,
How were the
it was
fries?
the fries are the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they had KFC, so I was kind of like doing a coin flip. I'm like, which horrible American food should I have?
I would go for KFC because
Would you?
I think KFC is a harder thing to get than a Burger King.
Well, I also think that all you do is they ship you the seasoning, you dip it, and you fry it. So it's probably safer because you're like nuking everything on it. No?
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to go to McDonald's while I was there, but I didn't have any time.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I don't know.
But going to fast food restaurants in foreign countries is really fun because it shows you everything is like same but different.
And I've said this on the show before, the Americans are purveyors of awful fast food from around the world. I went to Sydney once, and I land there, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to see what the Australians eat. And I'm like, it's Subway, KFC, McDonald's, and Hungry Jack's, which is...
I don't even... What's Hungry Jack's?
It's Burger King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, it's the same stuff. Like, I literally...
Same stuff.
You could have put me at LAX and then, like, closed my eyes and woke me back and be I'm in the same spot. Like, what happened? And Sydney's funny because it's basically the gas lamp in San Diego. You walk around down there, and it's, like, identical, and all the bars, everybody's wearing a LA... Dodgers hat and watching Lakers games and stuff, and you're like, it's so Americanized.
Oh my God.
So you gotta get out of Sydney Harbor, I think, is what it is. 'Cause
Well,
I love Australia,
I've
but
never
it is
been to
close home.
Australia, but so the next
awesome.
time I will be like, Holman told me to get out of Sydney. He said that you guys were terrible.
That's not what I said. I said it was just like home. All right, so the last interview I have is with Matt Wilson, who is the principal for the team. And this is pretty interesting because he kind of goes a little bit behind the scenes with how the team came to be. And also just the kind of stuff that you wouldn't, I guess, normally get from your normal interviews. So here we go. All right, so we're sitting down with Matt Wilson, team principal for the Ford Dakar team here. This has got to be a pretty big deal to finally be here. And this is the first time that a manufacturer has come in 4 cars from scratch. Like, this isn't a privateering effort. This is a full-on factory support. Ford's coming in. And you guys expect to win. How did you get involved? What was the process? I mean, what did you do when the phone call came, I guess, is where we want to start.
Well, I think, obviously, the relationship between Ford and M Sport goes back a long way anyway, in various disciplines. Obviously, the rallying side being a bigger one, but the engine partnership for GT3, that type of thing. So the relationship's been there for a long time. So I think M Sport has always been naturally interested in rally raid. I mean, I think it sort of harks back to the way rallying used to be in some ways back in the early days. So we've always kept a keen eye on rally raid, but the right partnership was never there. But as soon as Ford came along and wanted to do it, obviously it was a very exciting thing for us because it was something that, as I say, we'd looked at for a long time anyway. So when that sort of conversation started, it was exciting, and then when it grew from a 3-car effort to a 4-car effort, it got even more exciting.
It's almost like an embarrassment of riches.
But it got more. The pressure got even higher.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely an exciting period when we were having the conversations and the decision was made to go and attack it and to do it. So.
And when was that decision made?
I mean, it was made relatively quickly. I mean, Jim Farley visited M Sport just, as he wanted to do, just because of the partnership and the history between the two companies. The first conversation started around then, and things moved pretty quickly. We were able to come here last year with a vehicle that already existed from South Africa, which was, to be honest, was invaluable. That it didn't really necessarily teach us technically. The car was well into design and things by that point, but what it taught us was operationally, strategically, all of that type of thing. So that was an invaluable lesson really to come last year. So that was all part of the process and the conversation. So yeah, it's probably 2.5-3 years ago, I think, when the first conversation started. So it's come
pretty quick, really.
And to your point, you're basically the air traffic controller. You have to understand logistics, you have to understand personnel, you have to understand engineering, you have to understand racing rules. I mean, FIA is no joke, obviously. And now you're doing it times 4, which is a massive undertaking in its own right. I mean, where did you get the blueprints for the car? Like, what was the genesis of, we're going to build this car this way? And was that in talks before Ford came and it was adapted, or is this part of the Ford effort?
No, I mean, I think that we visited Dakar in 23 when we knew that the project was going to go ahead. We spent a lot of time. Obviously, the regulations are, a set of technical regulations without an homologation, which is obviously different to WRC and different to other FIA formulas. So you work into a set of technical regs, effectively. But what we learned when we came here in 23 was that driver comfort, compared to other disciplines, is hugely important. And when we set about designing the car, we got Nani, who's the tallest driver. We got him to sit in his ideal seating position, and we 3D scanned him, and we actually wanted to incorporate him being comfortable into the cockpit, because I think speed, aero, all of the things that are important in other formulas are crucial. But if you can, and it's very hard to put a number on it, like when you get into week 2 and the drivers are fatigued, the co-drivers are fatigued, how do you put a number on their performance from being comfortable versus...
It's the intangibles.
Exactly. So that was a massive part of what we looked at, and then obviously incorporating that with, trying to get the weight as low as possible, all the normal engineering tasks that you work to on a set of technical regs. But that was certainly key, and we've always had this mantra, or we've tried to have the mantra from the beginning, that an aeroplane can't fall out of the sky. So there's always, there's a lot of backups, so we've really tried to go with that mantra, because 2 weeks is no joke.
Well, how do you balance that? Because you're trying to lightweight the car at the same time you're adding additional systems to make sure that there's backups in place.
Yeah, it's been a balancing act of what do you need, what do you not need, and how far can you push things, knowing that, we need to change that on rest day, or do you know what I mean? We've in a real balancing act in that sense. But yeah, I mean, the other thing that we've done a lot of is testing mileage, which has been really good. There's no comparison for competition, but I think what we've done and where we've been with our testing has been it's put a lot of pressure on the guys, and particularly the designers and stuff. We've changed things after each test, and we've tried to keep evolving to the last possible minute. But what that does, it puts pressure on the designers, and then it puts pressure on purchasing the parts, because you're having to rejig things. So it's been a Herculean effort really from everybody for the whole year. So I think to get here, not have to air freight a car here, I think everybody thought we would have to do, not even air freight any spare parts, which was a massive effort really. So yeah, it's nice to finally be here with 4 that look ready to go, really.
And winning this event is as much about all this as it is about the cars. How different is this setup compared to a typical WRC event for instance?
For me, it's got a lot of similarities to normal rallying, but it's also got a lot of similarities to endurance racing in my eyes, which is obviously something we've done before as well. So for me, it was taking bits of both. Thankfully, I've obviously worked on both projects before, so I was able to sort of see, right, yeah, that's crucial, and looking after the guys and girls here is as much a part of looking after the cars, because they're all together, you're living together for 3 weeks, you've got to look after them. So we've tried to do as much as we can. You'll notice that they're all in tents on top of vehicles rather than on tents on the ground, and it's all the small things, but after 2 or 3 weeks they make a big difference. So we quickly identified that, as I said, driver comfort before, but also looking after the team is a way that you're hopefully gonna put yourself in a position to win.
Can we talk about the car a little bit? Obviously, I'm from the U.S., big into desert racing, Baja, things like that. And I actually, walking around the cars, have noticed it seems like there's some European, FIA, typical Dakar design, but there's also some American things in there as well. I'm not sure if a 37-inch tire is a standard car or tire size in Dakar. I noticed that you've got Fox external bypass shocks, which is huge in desert racing, huge with how we do it in the desert southwest of California. Yeah. I noticed some of the tricks I've seen on trophy trucks, like having the jacks built into the side of the car so that you don't have to pull a separate jack and they can be deployed from the driver's seat to do a quick change of a tire. Lots of carbon fiber, obviously. But then I noticed a lot of things like supercar stuff, like the monocoque tub of carbon fiber, and we walk around and it doesn't feel like a Dakar car, it doesn't feel like a trophy truck, but it feels like this amalgamation of like different disciplines in this one car, especially the V8 drivetrain, which is pretty novel for out here when everybody else is using smaller displacement turbocharged engines. So maybe walk us through the thought process and of taking those different disciplines to create what you think is a winning car, because it's pretty amazing.
I think, the first one to touch on is the relationship with Fox, and it was a clear goal from Ford, really, that from the very beginning, that Fox is a crucial part of the Raptor, the brand DNA, effectively.
And they're not. They're huge in desert racing. They're not huge in Dakar. That's a different discipline, and you just don't see that
for sure
over here.
And I'll be totally open that we had our reservation. It's never been on a Dakar vehicle before. It's not been on a rally type vehicle before, or rally raid within Europe. So as much as it was a common thing in the US and as part of the Raptor DNA. So that was, but straight away we were very, very happy to work with them, the way that they approached it, the way that they sort of set about what they wanted to do, the product. And I have to say, it's been a really, really good relationship and a very pleasant surprise for us. And I think, this was always aimed to be, from Ford point of view, was aimed to be the ultimate Raptor. So having Fox on it was very crucial to that, with every road-going vehicle being on Fox. So that was one of the key things right from the start. I think from an engine point of view, there was a lot of analysis done, a huge amount of analysis done on all the Dakars that had been in Saudi before, particularly from an elevation point of view, because obviously when you're normally aspirated, you're at a slight disadvantage compared to a turbocharged car when you're at altitude. So there was a lot of analysis done, and obviously the V8 was they both came out very similar, V6 turbo V8, and I think one of the swinging points was that obviously from a marketing point of view for Ford, it was a good thing to have the V8 as well. But the other thing is the simplicity, no turbos,
no forced induction, and then also
intercoolers, all of these things, and that
thermal management has to be a lot better on it as well, right?
Exactly, and that for us, when we go back to the point of an aeroplane can't fall out of the sky, the simpler we could make it, the better that was. So that was another part of the whole philosophy with it, really. I think everything else, obviously jacks and stuff that you mentioned, that's all obviously allowed within the regulation. And away from those two major points, we just had to really just study the regulations like we would for any other formula and really try and create the best possible vehicle, but then obviously keeping as much of the Raptor DNA as Ford would like us to have, and obviously from a styling point of view and an aero point of view, all them sort of things. But really then we just had to, do what engineers do best and get as much out of them regulations as we possibly could. So yeah, that's sort of where we ended up with what we've got there behind us, really.
I'm curious, from your counterparts at other factory teams, anybody sneaking over here? Are they giving you the evil eye? Are they kind of looking, or have they high-fived you quietly behind the scenes and said, I can't believe what you guys pulled out here? They're not going to say they're scared, but they're probably going, well, that's probably a lot better than maybe we thought they'd be on a first-year effort.
I hope that's what they think. That probably happened more in Morocco when they first saw it. So yeah, because obviously Dacia was their first event. It was our first event,
and they built a spaceship.
Yeah. So yeah, that probably happened more then. But yeah, I certainly hope they've got that feeling of a little bit of worried. But yeah, it's Dakar. It's a bit like any big event like Le Mans or Daytona 24 Hour or whatever. Like, in some ways it chooses who wins in a way. So yeah, we feel like we're as prepared as we possibly can be. If we don't succeed, it will certainly not be through lack of effort, But yeah, we will see in 2 weeks' time.
Another big aspect of this event versus like a WRC event is strategy. You know, you've got multiple weeks, you've got so many drivers. How are you planning on playing the cards that you are bringing to the game here? Are you going to have some drivers drive more conservatively than others, or is it really going to be flat out for everybody from day one?
I think if you look at anybody that's won Dakar in the last, well, probably forever, at some point they've had a teammate help them. You know, the best example of that is last year, Matthias helping Carlos. So, you know, I think the plan is that everybody starts on an equal footing, and we let the race play out.
And pivot where you need to.
Yeah, and I think there is no doubt at some point they might end up with 3 cars helping 1 car, or it might be 1 car helping 3 cars if they're all still at the sharp end.
Or it might be 3 cars on the podium and 1 fighting the 3rd car, right? I mean,
1966 again.
So we're under no illusions. All the drivers are under no illusions. I think we had a really good sort of strategy pre-event meeting, whatever you want to call it, where, you know, everybody's clear that they're all here to win, but they're all also here to help each other. They represent Ford, and we really don't care which car wins.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's as long as one of them is fighting in the front, then we really don't mind which one it is. So yeah, that to answer your question, yes, it will have to happen at some point.
But let's be honest, whoever wins gets a steak dinner, right?
Yes, for sure.
Not even pay for the chips.
Who do you think is your biggest competition this year?
I mean, if you look at Morocco, Dacia are obviously strong. They've got a strong driver lineup, Nasser and Loeb. But, you know, from our side, selfishly, I do think we've got, you know, the best lineup. But yeah, there's no doubt they're going to be quick. They're going to be strong. They know how to do it. Obviously, ProDrive have done Dakar previously with another vehicle, so they've got a bit of a head start in that sense. But, you know, the other thing is Toyota is always there. You know, they're just every year they're just always there. They're just always evolving the car a little bit. Obviously, the Mini proved to be strong in Morocco, so I'm sure they will be, you know, there or thereabouts as well. So genuinely, I think, not just saying this because we're here, but I think probably this year is probably going to be the most competitive for a long time. So
I think it was interesting, wasn't it, Morocco, because people were running to slightly different regulations. Because obviously there was a championship going on, so Toyota and those guys, they were racing to the 24 regulations. So I think it's going to be those first couple of days, isn't it, Matt? We're going to find out really how, because now we're moving to the talk sensor regular. You want to maybe explain that?
Yeah. So I don't know how much you know from that, but when we ran in Morocco, we were running to this year's regulations, which the big difference is the torque meter, a bit like what's in GT3 and WEC and that side of thing. So obviously to manage that here is a lot more difficult than on a circuit, because the worst thing you have to deal with on a circuit is bouncing off a curb and a torque spike from that. Whereas you can imagine here landing over a jump or all them things. So that's been a massive challenge, but something that, you know, we ran the torque meter right from the beginning because we knew that it was coming as a regulation. So there's a lot of hard work gone into that. But in Morocco, we were running to this year's regulations, whereas everybody else was running to 2024 regulations. So we were able to sort of gauge a little bit of where everybody was, but people were running to different regs. So I think here and the prologue and stage 1 is going to be the first time where everybody is identical and an equal footing. But yeah, we feel that having the torque meter has allowed us to come with a V8. It would allow maybe somebody else to come with an EV type effort like Audi did. It would really allow an array of powertrains to come and actually be balanced and equal, which is for us is key, and how well it works in the circuit racing side. But obviously, from an engineering point of view, it's been a huge task, and that's where the guys from Ford and the relationship between M Sport and Ford is brilliant in terms of the technical side, where, you know, working on
get in the ECU and things like that.
Yeah, and working on that sort of damping out the torque spikes, running as close to the limit as you can, all them things that are tough, but, you know, where the engineering relationship between the two is really good in that sense.
Does your experience in circuit racing give you an advantage over a team like Dacia, for example, that hasn't really done much in that regard?
I don't know. I mean, they're all
when it comes to the torque meter.
Yeah, I mean, Dacia is obviously part of the Alpine group. They're running a WEC program, so I'm sure that they've been able to call on some resource as well. But from our side, it's not done any harm for the what we've done in the past and what Ford have done with GT3, that type of thing. So I'm sure everybody's on top of it now, but we maybe got there a little bit earlier because we decided to run it right from the very beginning.
Do you think there's an advantage to having the V8 because it has such a great amount of overhead for what power the potential it has, so it's not as stressed, and I would imagine the power delivery is probably a little bit more linear than a turbocharged car?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of them when everything was looked at so closely in terms of what was the best option, and there was certain points where the V6 turbo was probably better.
Yeah.
As I say, altitude was definitely one of them. There's scenarios where in the dunes is it better to be with a turbo than it is with a normally aspirated, but there's certain places where the V8 is for sure better. So I think it's 6 and 2 3s, but the crucial thing was the torque meter just takes any of that away. But yes, for sure, if in the future if the limit was to be lifted, having the V8 is definitely
in a way you're future proofed if they do change that.
Yes, that's certainly not.
Yeah, and we've got an engine already in the locker. Right? We ran last year with the 3.5 litre EcoBoost, so we know that we've got options, but that 5 litre it's such an enormous part of the DNA of the company, and it's an engine that we race all around the world. These guys have got experience of it with the GT3 car as well, so it was a good choice.
How much of a factor is efficiency in making those decisions? Is that a big savings when it comes to
I mean, when you're talking of 500 litres of fuel, then obviously what you can, if you can run 400 litres as opposed to 480 litres, then it's a huge saving, and it's obviously it makes the car easier to drive from the start of the stage when you're full of fuel. But I think one of the things that we really worked on from the very beginning was having a consistent car with a full tank and an empty tank, and that's obviously not easy because you've got a massive weight drop off,
especially at 500 litres.
Yes, so that was one thing that we've tried to sort of factor in, is that giving the driver confidence when it's full, and being able allowing them to push right from the beginning and not wait until they get down to half a tank or less. So yes, efficiency is definitely key, because the less fuel we can carry, the better it is, for sure.
Because you're trying to dial it in, because you don't want any extra fuel essentially, but you don't want to run out either. Yes. When you finish a stage.
And the other thing that, unlike any other discipline, is how much of a reserve do you run? Because you are relying on the human factor of navigation, and we've seen it in the past where people have been circling
or desert terrain. I mean, just you go from rocky hard pack to soft sand.
But you've seen in the past that certain co-drivers have maybe lost the way, and you've been circling in the dunes for 30 minutes. How much fuel you're burning? How much a reserve do you risk to have? So there's all of them factors with it. So yes, efficiency. If we can use as little as fuel as possible, and then it gives us more headroom, like everything.
How much of a coup was it getting Carlos over here after his long tenure at Audi, and coming back home to Ford? I mean, he's no joke when it comes to being a legend of WRC, and to have him as your one of your primary drivers is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the key points really of when we were establishing the driver lineup. But I think if you ask Carlos, I'm pretty hopeful, and I'm sure he would say it was an easy choice for him. And in some ways, I think he feels like coming home. We've known him for a long time. He was, when M Sport first started with WRC with Ford in '97, he was our first ever driver. He obviously then had another period back there for 3 years. So back in the early 2000s, and when he left M Sport Ford at that point, he had a very, very good relationship with the whole team. And I think when he came back to the first tests, and there was probably 4 or 5 faces that were still here from that period, I think you could see him instantly relax.
It's amazing when the name is the same, but then also the people are the same too, right?
And I think that was a real. You could just see he walked in and he recognised faces. He walked around the workshop with his first visit, and it was like, I remember you from back then. And it was, I think it was a feeling of coming home, and probably made the transition from where he was before very, very easy, I think.
How much of the crew here is actually part of the WRC crew, or has been in the past?
We've got 2 separate teams now, pretty much, but there has been a crossover of people that have moved from the rally side to this. I mean, I think, yeah, and I think there's, it's one of these events that a lot of these guys, the more senior, or should I say, experienced guys,
seasoned
seasoned professionals, they've probably always had Dakar as a bucket list thing to do, and when the chance came to do it properly as a factory effort, there was a lot of people that jumped at the chance to move across and do it, and even people that have been at M Sport for a long time and then maybe left, it's actually brought them back. So it's been one of that side of it's been quite easy, because it's such an iconic event that people want to do, that we've managed to really get a good strong team together.
Now, Ford has always had really deep roots in racing, especially in the UK, especially in Europe. Long history. But Dakar is one of those things that is really special. Are you excited at having them do so much promotion with those of us in the States to showcase what you guys are doing internationally for an American brand?
For sure. I mean, I think that the effort and the energy and the buzz around this program is huge, and I think it's brilliant to be able to sort of probably take Dakar to the American audience a bit. I mean, I know it's a big event everywhere, but I think it's not as big as...
We know what it is, and it's one of those like unicorn things, right? For Americans, like, oh, awesome, and we're casual observers. There's some hardcore people, but being immersed in it, it's so different. And I think when we saw the T1 Plus, the Raptor, announced, I think all of us were like, oh crap, I think it's awesome. And I think it brings awareness that what this American brand is doing. I think for us being included in this go around is pretty cool, because Raptor is something that it started in America, Baja Trucks. To see it have that international cachet now that they named their new car after is pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that bringing that sort of Dakar and letting you guys see a bit more of what it is and what the event is and how big it is in some ways is really exciting. And I think, as I said before, all the activation, the buzz around it it's amazing, really. And I think it just showcases exactly what you said, what we can do, but obviously the effort that Ford are putting in, and how the Raptor brand, as you say, is now sort of a global recognised thing.
You mentioned quality of life improvements for the crew and things like that. What were some of the other big learnings that came out of last year's kind of pre-running for this year?
Good question. I mean, I think the sort of the logistics side and the strategy side was key. I think we were very lucky to experience that 48-hour chrono last year. That was the first time it was there. So being there at the beginning of something like that was useful. Understanding it ahead of this year was a really good thing. And I think logistically last year, from what everybody tells us, we don't know any different. But last year was one of the toughest in terms of how regularly we moved bivouac. So it was a really tough one in terms of the mileage that we were covering, the back and forward to the empty quarter. The frequency of moving bivouacs was high. So that gave us a sort of worst case scenario. It helped us with just all the little things. I mean, how best to look after the drivers, crow drivers, with what they need. It's the small details, I think, that will make a difference when you come into week 2 and week 3 effectively.
And when it comes to the car design and setup, is there any learnings that can be brought from some of the tougher WRC rallies like Corsica or Safari that can be brought to this vehicle?
Yes, for sure. I think that definitely shortcutted our learning curve. I think it probably harks back to the WRC more of old, like Safari back from the early 2000s, that type of thing. And obviously we've got I've got a good pedigree from there. And it's certain things that that stress points, in suspension stuff, that type of thing. You're working to a different set of regulations, but you're covering some of the same type of terrain. So there was definitely things that were probably shortcutted our learning curve from our experiences in the past of where we've seen issues, what failures we've had, that type of thing. So definitely a good thing.
All right, well, we appreciate your time, and I just want to wish you good luck, and hopefully in a few weeks we're celebrating.
I really hope so.
And I hope you have to buy a steak dinner for 3 drivers.
Thank you. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Lovely. Nice.
All right, so, can we just soak in the background noise of all those interviews right now?
I know.
It's so freaking cool.
Because we were doing those interviews, because I did the exact same interviews just a couple weeks later, right in the midst of the Ford
Mine
pit.
were better because they were fresh, though.
Sure. And like there's all the noise of the mechanics, and there's people hammering on stuff. And I was there on rest day, which meant that they were doing much more of a changeover. So on rest day, they changed over the driveline, the axles, and the brakes and everything. And plus they had like the transaxle out and all that stuff. So there was a lot of just like hammering and like it was really cool to be there. And dude, some of the tools that I saw.
Proprietary.
Well, yes, proprietary. But I saw a torque wrench, which I swear to God, the drive had to be like 1.5 inches.
There's some stuff there that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because they had to tear down that whole setup and then move it.
Yeah.
And that setup with if you think of like Dometic has those inflatable rooftop tents now, it was like a massive version of that with rooms and it was crazy and it was cool. It was a very cool structure. But I was just being there, immersed in the paddock, basically, soaking it in, having free reign to walk around. And then what you don't realize is these Dakar vehicles are really interesting. Like there's full doors, full windshield, which you'd never have in.
No, they have air conditioning.
You never
have
a
a windshield.
Windshield in Baja.
Yeah,
ever.
in fact, Mitch and Kellen, they both came from side by sides, and they were like, I was like, what do you like the most about the vehicle? And they're like, oh, the windshield. I'm like, really? That's it? But it just makes it so much more comfortable.
Yep.
But.
And they're on 37-inch BFG tires. I mean, they're a pretty big tire for Dakar.
Yeah.
Dakar. And then you're like, I'm sitting there and you're watching it, and it's like a Coyote V8, and it's super rad, and it looks like a spaceship, and the interior on it's really amazing. And then all of a sudden, a big old stupid man truck on like leaf springs and bypass shocks goes,
doing
and like
the exact same
and you're like, I don't care about these Ford T1 crazy Raptors anymore. I want to be in that man truck 3 wide in the cab.
Those things are so crazy. I love.
Did you get to see him race?
Guys. No, I didn't. We never got to see him. But seeing those things in the dunes, like when I get in the dunes and I'm like, oh, I can't. This truck is too heavy. My power to weight ratio is just not enough. It's not enough. And then these guys go through it like it's absolutely nothing. They're insane. Those guys are insane.
It's wild. If you get a chance, look up the specs for the Ford Raptor. It's basically the Ford Raptor T1 Plus is what you want to look up. Just because the things are from the technology advancement. We talked about the Fox shocks in the interviews there. They're not using live valve. It's all bypass shocks. So there's a lot of technology that has come from the American side through Baja and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. But man, I think, and you may be able to confirm, Ford was talking about bringing one of those to KOH. Is that a thing?
That is the rumor. So if you guys are coming out to KOH at Johnson Valley the first week of February, Ford is a big sponsor of KOH. They've got King of the Hammers. They've got a lot of vehicles that are entered, and I think Mitch is going to be there with the T1 Plus. I'm hoping that, as a quote journalist, I will get a ride because I just think it would be amazing, even though I would have all those rally computers in front of me and I wouldn't know how to use them.
Yeah, so this thing has, and I'm not going to do the math for you because I can't do everything for you guys, but 350 millimeters of wheel travel. This Coyote's a little bit different. It's got a unique dry sump oil system, and then the exhaust is obviously tuned for Dakar and for the particular application that it's in.
And they can't use all of the horsepower, so
no,
it's
that torque,
only tuned to 350, which it's a rule, right?
And that's one of the things I asked about is like, how's that torque curve? So you can hit that peak and you're done, but if you can bring that peak on earlier, like most V8s do, or you can tune it that way. The vehicle also uses a T45 steel space frame, carbon fiber body panels. And by the way, the carbon fiber was really beautiful. I got a chance to look at it up close, and I'm like, these are just going to get destroyed off road, and yet the quality in there.
They had like 4 or 5 different sets.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then it's a minimum weight of 2,010 kilograms with a width of 2,300 millimeters.
Yep.
The approach angle is Jeep-like at 70 degrees. So
no,
yeah,
70?
70 degrees. Yeah,
that's more than Jeep.
It's
way
wild.
more than Jeep.
It's
Yeah.
wild. So it's a really cool vehicle. I was excited to go there. I'm sure you were too. Talk to me about your tent story.
Oh my God.
So we got to camp and like go glamping. They call it glamping in these tents.
They put us in so that we could like get a feel of what the Dakar pilots and navigators
whatever.
are going on. I know.
You know what's funny is that the weather was exactly like SoCal, and they put heaters in our tents, and I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
I was perfectly. I'm like, this is great desert sleeping weather, and I slept great. All these people are like, oh my God, it was so cold. I had to turn my heater. I'm like, wait. What, we had a heater?
Yeah, we had a heater. We
No
had
idea.
electricity. They had given us showers. Although for where we were, it was so cold overnight that it actually, all of the water froze. So I'm like, well, it's a good thing I wasn't planning on showering here anyway.
Well, there's that.
Yeah. Because why bother when you're showering when you're camping? That's just stupid. But
That's how you keep the flies away.
I myself,
And the men.
I'm single forever.
That would be truckshowpodcast@gmail.com for a date with Emme Hall.
I am always cold, right? So I had gone to the Dakar.
It's funny. That's what your last boyfriend said too.
I know. I'm a cold-hearted snake. I had come from Morocco. I was out riding monkey bikes in Morocco, which is a whole other Oprah story.
I wanted to talk to you about that, and I'm afraid we'll run out of time, but that looked pretty amazing.
No, it was great riding a child's bike through Morocco. But because I knew we were going to be camping, I'm like, I'm going to bring my Selk bag, which is like basically a wearable sleeping bag. So I had it with me when I got to the Dakar, and we get to that first little like glamorous bivouac thing, and I'm like, I'm going to wear this tonight as I'm camping. So it was great. I had a wonderful night. I didn't have to turn on the heater. I had my little sleeping bag, my wearable sleeping bag, and then I had the sleeping bag that they gave us. I was perfectly happy. I get up the next morning, and the first thing I need to do, like always, is I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I unzip my tent in my wearable sleeping bag, and there's these 2 local guys. They're working at the Biv, but they're definitely like local Saudis.
Uh-huh.
He says something to me. I don't understand him. He says something else. I don't understand him. And finally, I just say, no, it was good. And then he walks away.
True. That's not true. So get your facts straight.
Is that how that conversation went?
Well, no, he walks away, and Holman, I look down, and this diagonal zipper is 100% just showing my boob, all of it, not just like a little bit, not like.
And then when he looked at you, did he say?
THANKYOU. Thank you.
Yes, he said. Except he said shukran, which is the Arabic for thank you.
Wow.
Can you just want to get all the drops out of the way?
Oh my God, so funny.
It was so bad. And it wasn't just like a little nip slip or something.
No.
It was like a whole like, oh, I'm breastfeeding. Here's my entire breast is out for everybody. I'm like, I'm going to cause an international incident.
Parents with small children listening might want to be aware that this particular talk is intended for a more mature audience.
International incident
Oh
hall.
my God! And you know how much the Saudis enjoy women parading around with their breasts out.
Exactly. So that was exactly just bing, just put them right together.
Now, was it a good boob morning or?
It was cold, so it was pretty nipply.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you turn around and go, well?
No, I looked down and I went, oh, there's my boob, and then I zipped it up and I went, no, where are those toilets? Because I'm going to pee in my pants.
All right. Now, did you get to ride in the Bronco DR while you were out there?
I did. So Ford brought out Brad Lovell, who is
Yep.
one of their sponsored drivers. He is such a great
friend
guy.
of the Truck Show podcast,
Yes, he
and
is-
also
he is
Amsoil driver.
Really, really cool. I'd actually gotten a chance to drive the Bronco DR when it first came out with Kurt
Feels
LeDuc.
like a humble brag.
I know, it was really fun. I went really fast. I went almost as fast as Kurt LeDuc. He told
Really?
Me, he told. Well, sure. But he did say that I was a very good driver. But no, it was great getting into that. They wanted to give us like a taste of what it would be like to be in a Dakar vehicle. Now, obviously, the DR is not the Dakar vehicle at all,
No.
but it does have a V8. It's tuned to a little bit more. I think that the DR is like 400 horsepower, 450, something like that. And where we were, we got to go out and have like a little rock crawl area, a little bit of a fast stuff, some technical things. And I told Brad, I'm like, please just go to 100%. Don't hold back.
Yeah, don't hold back.
It's great.
So I had a chance to go with Brad also, and it's funny because I had missed my opportunity in DR a bunch of times. Lightning even had a chance to go with Brad out at KOH, and I'm like, I missed it. And the first time I saw it, Shelby Hall was driving, and I know I used to race with her dad. And I just whatever. I kept missing opportunities. So this was Brad and I in the DR.
All right, finally in a Bronco DR with Brad. We're in Saudi Arabia. This should be a little bit of fun.
All right, so we take off, and it's freaking. The thing sounds so
amazing.
Wicked.
Yeah. And also, I want to point out, you guys, we are in fire suits and helmets, the whole shebang.
Helmet, Hans devices, the everything, the 5 points, all of it. So here's just a quick audio from my ride, and of course, no windshield, unlike the T1 Pluses.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how windy it was, right?
Yeah, I'm listening to this.
That doesn't make for great. It makes for much better video than it does audio.
Exactly.
But if you go to at Truck Show Podcast or at Sean P. Holman, in the reels, I posted a reel of that, and you can watch us flying through the desert at 60 miles, 70 miles an hour in Saudi Arabia. And it's funny. Other than the plants, like I think it's the acacias that have that flat top to them. Other than those and a few different things, it looks a lot like the Mojave where we're at. And but it was definitely cool. So got to shout out my buddy Brad Lovell for finally getting a ride. Oh, and the other time was Jason Gonderman and I went out to Bronco Off Rodeo for the Raptor one, and he gets a ride with Brad, who airs the thing off the jump. And I'm like, man, I didn't get a ride with
the DR or in the Bronco Raptor?
In the Bronco Raptor.
In the Bronco Raptor, yeah.
So like I missed all these times to ride with Brad. So anyway, I finally got my time with Brad, which is super cool. So monkey bikes. So you were in Morocco. So I didn't think you were making it to Saudi. So after we decided, yeah, I thought, oh well, she's in Morocco. There's no way she's getting to Saudi.
I had to cut my monkey bike ride short by just like a day. Which was fine because at that point I was like, I really want to get off this 50cc motorcycle.
Yeah. I bet your butt was,
dude, so slow.
You had monkey butt?
I had monkey butt. I needed my monkey butt powder. But like I do this stuff with this group called The Adventurous, and basically they give you a monkey bike and they say you need to be in Marrakesh or wherever at such and such a day. Don't call us. Even if you die, do not call us.
Wow.
They expect you to be completely self-sufficient. So,
but you were with a group. I saw your posts on Instagram.
We started with a group, and then I went with two.
And then as the locals started kidnapping people one at a time, the group kept
it's Morocco.
Attrition.
It's so safe. It's fine.
I mean, Morocco's you and I were in Morocco once.
That's where Yeah Buddy came from.
That is one of the Yeah Buddies.
That is totally where that came from. But I mean, so you know how it is. Like people are super friendly. It's fairly safe. The roads are pretty good. But we didn't really have any troubles with our bikes. Rebecca, we had to rebuild her carburetor in kind of the middle of nowhere. But we were able to get all of the bikes across the finish line. But some people in the group, I was like, what are y'all doing? Like, what is it just because now I'm old and I have experience and I know how to take care of a vehicle? I'm just looking at some of these videos and I'm like, they're just the entire engine is just like spread out on some dude's floor.
How many miles or kilometers did you do?
We did about 1,000 kilometers over 7 days. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of monkey bikes, and we camped. So we did camping, and then we would stay in a riad, which is like a guest house. And it was super fun. But then I had like 4 flights to get from there to Saudi, and then to get home, I had 3 flights. So
I had the same thing, 3 flights. And then I was thinking the whole time, like why I want to be home. I just want to be home. As fun as the trip was, there's a point in travel internationally.
Yeah.
Because every place you go in each country, it's like, oh, I got to go back through immigration. They got to rescan my stuff. I got to go do all this stuff. And you're just like, I'm done. I just want to go home.
Well, and most of the time, because I was on the monkey bike for most of the time, I didn't really have any clothes. Because I had to carry everything with me.
Yeah.
So I wore the same thing on the monkey bike for 7 days. So I totally reeked.
Yeah.
And then I get there.
I mean, you do now too. So have you even showered?
I had one outfit that I could wear in the bivouac, and then I had one outfit for the plane, and that was it.
That was it.
And I was like, yeah, I'm a poor.
All right. Can we talk about, I think Dakar ended today.
Yes, it ended today.
I'm sorry. Dakar.
The Dakar ended today, and
And do I owe Mitch In-N-Out?
Did you say if he wins?
I think I said if he finished. I think I started with win, and then I went, that's ambitious.
Right. Okay, so we knew that Nanny wasn't going to make a podium because he had some trouble earlier.
We knew Carlos was out.
And we knew that Carlos was out. But in the 228 car, Mitch Guthrie and Kellen Welch, his navigator, they got 5th place, which is very exciting.
That's actually pretty good.
It's pretty good. They were about an hour behind first place.
Okay.
And then Nassar Alitalia and his navigator Edouard Boulanger, they were in a Dacia. They got 4th place. Just, everybody knows Nassar.
And Dacia is not big here in the U.S.
It's not a thing.
It's big. It's huge in Dakar and Europe in rally racing.
Yeah. But the Swedes, Matthias Ekström and Emil Bergqvist, they got 3rd place in their Ford Raptor.
So Ford got a podium.
Yay!
All right.
But big rivalry here, both 2nd and 1st place. 2nd place was the factory Toyota Gazoo Racing. And
those
things,
dudes.
Yeah.
That thing sounded wicked.
They are out of their minds.
Yeah.
And then in 1st place was Overdrive Racing, which is not necessarily affiliated with Gazoo Racing, but they use Toyota Hiluxes.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 Toyotas in front by 20 minutes.
Okay.
So
there were a lot of Toyota Hiluxes out there.
Yeah.
They were those. The Fords were minority compared to. And then there's a bunch of weird Chinese stuff over there too, which is kind of wild too.
And there was the Minis are still racing.
The Minis were unbelievable. They've done great in rally.
I've never seen one of those in person. I was like, oh, that's like Buddy's older brother.
And it's funny because you'll hear the Hilux coming through in there. I think they're hybrids, so they're like, and they sound wicked, right? I have some of those on my Instagram reels. And then you hear the Dacia come by, right? And then the Fords sound completely different because they're a V8. And then you hear some of the Chinese cars, and it sounds like something with a cylinder that dropped with marbles in it.
Yeah,
it's all industrial sounding, and they're like. That doesn't sound good.
No.
This is prologue. They probably sounded worse by the time they got to you.
I know. And Mason Klein, he was on the Kove, the Chinese bike. He was racing, I think, for KTM. Maybe it was Honda, but he got dropped, and he's like, he's so good on the bike, and he's so nice, and he's so young, and I want the best for him. And then he got dropped, and then he had to go on this Chinese bike, and he had a shitty rally last year, and he had a shitty rally this year, and I just want him to do good on the bike.
What did Auntie Emme do? Did she go give him a hug?
No.
Did you drop into his DMs?
No, I should. I mean, he is
young. Again. Oh man. Well, it was an awesome experience. Dakar was really fun. Reminded me of Baja, but totally different.
Yeah.
I would go back. I would love to go back and do it. I'd love to be there for the race days.
Yeah.
Being there for prologue was cool because I got to see the run up to the race.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was there, everybody was sort of kind of chill and relaxed. I want to be thrown into the fire and kind of see how things are going. When you went, I think your access was a little bit more restricted because some things happened. A car rolled. FIA was up everybody's butts in the Ford team. And then they were kind of everybody back off. When I was there, people were like, yeah, whatever, full access. So
yeah, I would like to go back and be able to watch from the dunes. And it's difficult to spectate at the Dakar because you don't know what the route is going to be. And I'm not exactly sure
it's
how.
not like Baja where they publish it.
Right. So I'm not exactly sure how those spectators that you see in the dunes on the highlight reels, I'm like, how did
they get lucky or
do they just wait? They know basically where they're going to enter the dunes and then
so
they
that's
just,
a question.
Parallel them?
You've done the Rebel Rally a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And so in the Rebel Rally, there's no GPS. Everything's done by line of sight, dead reckoning, compasses, maps. You have a book.
Yeah.
Dakar's kind of like that as well, too, right?
Sort of. So the Rebel, you basically have a set of checkpoints that you have to go to and find, and those are latitude and longitude points. On the Dakar, they have a road book, and it's divided. You have got your page is divided up into 3 columns. The first column has to do with your distance, how far you are into the stage, and then your interval distance. The next column will be kind of like a little drawing maybe of what the instruction is supposed to be. And it will give you what they call your cap or your heading. So if you're coming up to an intersection and you're going to make a 90-degree turn, it will say 90, and then it'll have a little drawing of an arrow going to the right. Then in the third section, it will have any notes about what it is. Like maybe it's you're off-piste or there's a danger or something like that. And then you have a lexicon of all of these different abbreviations and drawing and what they all mean. And so the navigators, they're really the heroes of the Dakar.
They're working a lot.
Their minds are going the entire time. And I mean, I don't want to take anything away from the drivers.
Yeah.
But if the navigators make one mistake, it can ruin the whole rally.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Nasser.
Yeah.
His navigator made a mistake. They were taken out of contention. Whereas a driver can make a mistake and this was wrong, or we just got a little stuck, or we got a puncture. But those things happen to everybody.
Right.
So I have so much respect for those navigators because their minds have to think in a way that is completely different.
Your navigator's been Rebecca in the past, and you've been the driver at Rebel, right?
Yes, yeah.
So you actually have a pretty intimate knowledge of what it's like to have that driver-navigator relationship within a race car in a competition.
Yeah. I mean, you really have to. I always think that my job as a driver, part of my job is to make sure that my navigator has what she needs to do her job.
Yeah.
Whether that's taking care of her in the morning, making sure she gets breakfast, making sure I got water in the car, whatever it is. And those teams also at the Dakar for the Ford, they also have those little rituals. How do you take care of your driver? Are you saying hey, good job? Or we got to check up
champ.
here. Hey, champ, good for you, And they were telling me, they're what's really terrible is when we get off and I have to tell the driver to turn around.
Oh,
and you're like, that would suck.
And you're sitting there in your helmet, in your race suit, mad at yourself, and nobody can see you seething inside.
I know,
right?
I know, right? So I would really love to get more familiar with the Dakar navigation. I don't think I'd be very good at it, but I love the challenge of it, which is kind of why I want to do Nora, because Nora uses Dakar style navigation.
I think that would be cool.
I know.
I'd be down for that. I mean, let's sign me up. Let's do it.
All right, but then you got to be the navigator.
Okay.
All right, you'll have to fight Rebecca.
Oh, she's tough.
She's pretty tough.
All right. Before we move on, I wanted to talk about Buddy, because Buddy's doing Buddy 2.0.
Buddy, we're getting Buddy 2.0 as
Buddy.
Yeah,
well,
Buddy.
Well, hold on. We can't talk about Buddy without having a jingle for Buddy. So
that's right. I
here
love
we
my
go.
jingle.
You've got a project draining your wallet. What's to show for your bad choices? Do you still have a wife? Tell us what's in your driveway. You've got a project draining your wallet. What's to show for your bad choices? Tell us about that project, please.
So tell us about your project and your wife.
Well, don't have a wife, don't have a husband, and my wallet is very thin now because
which is why you don't have a wife or husband.
Because Toby over at Advanced Engine Dynamics in Corona is giving Buddy a new motor because mine kind of blew up.
Because you put the blower on it.
No, I don't think we did put the supercharger on it. I don't think that is it. I think we had some oil problems.
Okay, when you rebuild it, is the blower going back on it?
yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Are you kidding me? We're actually using the intercooler this time because before
yeah.
I tuned it for just a little bit of boost just to get it like back into kind of power to weight, stock power to weight ratio.
Yeah.
But we're going to put a little bit more horsepower, so it's going to require.
You have to hose that sucker off though, because it's going to be packed with dust.
It's going to be packed with dust. But here's what we also learned is that when I got that Jackson Racing Supercharger, it came with its own little air filter. And I've known this entire time that it's been insufficient. So I've always, like, before every excursion, I've taken the little box out and I've like rinsed it out and like there's never anything in there. Okay, well, Toby starts taking everything apart and he's sending me photos. He was like, look at all the dirt in this. Look at all the dirt in this. I mean, in the throttle body, just caked with it. Caked with it.
Oops.
Yeah, I was like, oh, maybe that was part of the reason why the motor blew up. So
well, maybe you need some AMS oil in there too.
Yeah, I know. So that is happening, and then I'm picking up the shocks from Fox on Monday.
Awesome.
The thing about Buddy is that getting those shocks in and out so far it's been pretty hard just because they weren't made to do what it's doing, right? So having
all your shock towers are custom and your suspension.
Yeah. So trying to go out and do like a tuning session, it's not feasible because I can't just take them off in 15 minutes and get them. I mean, it's like an hours long thing.
Yep.
So I weighed each corner and then I gave them to Fox and they just they're doing a bench tune on him. And I'm like, that's going to have to be good
It'll probably
enough.
be fine.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it'll probably be fine.
I mean, it's not a trophy truck. I'm not going through the whoops at 100 miles an hour.
How much travel does that thing have? Like 8 inches, 9 inches?
Yeah, and most of it is droop travel. So it'll be fine. It'll be fine. But they're going to give me some reservoirs, which I'm stoked about.
Reservoir? Coming back from Europe, listen to you. Reservoir.
I've got some reservoir. Reservoir.
So that's going to be good. And then we're going to sort out my friend Mark Noggle, he's really helped me a lot with Buddy. We're going to sort out a new air filtration system, something that's actually real.
Something that's probably
catch the dust.
at least in the passenger compartment or the footwell or something like that to get it out of the...
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know that some people have put snorkels on Miatas. But
I know.
I get it. I don't really want to.
You don't want to be a snorkel person.
No, because then I'm going to need a whittle watta.
In case you didn't know. All right. I want to talk about one of the vehicles that I've driven lately, and I don't know if you've driven this vehicle or not, but this is our latest intro. What's in Holman's driveway?
Ooh.
What's in Holman's driveway? What could it be? Is it a Nissan, a Ford, or maybe a GMC? Is that a Chevy, a Jeep, or a Ram that you see? Or maybe a Toyota, a Tesla, a Rivian to drive for free? It must be gas, diesel, or electricity. How'd he get so lucky to get those keys? In Holman's driveway, vehicles just appear. It's always a mystery how they ended up there.
It's true. What did I say when I was coming to your house? I'm like, I'll just look for the driveway with the weirdest amalgamation of vehicles.
Oh my God! Yeah,
completely.
Let's see. We've got a hybrid. We've got a V8. We've got a 4-cylinder. We've got an EV. We got a loaner out there. So, what's in Holman's driveway? By the way, how do you like that intro? Was that good?
No, it's really good. That whoever's singing that is like got a really good voice.
I did that on AI. I wrote it. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that wild?
You're using AI for creative stuff. You just put a songwriter out. A songwriter is not
they are
eating
too
because
expensive.
Of you.
I literally. So here's
you are the worst person I know.
I know. Here's the thing.
There is no thing.
OVR magazine stuff. My writing will not use it. Refuse to. But for a cheesy jingle, I'm all about it. Come on, that was solid.
Sure.
And it's funny because it's like people are like
no, it is because it's like
your neighbors think you're a drug dealer.
Totally.
Yeah.
I had to tell all of my neighbors, I'm like, I'm not a drug dealer.
And I don't live in 20 different states.
Right.
I'll come with out-of-state
if you have any questions about any of these vehicles, feel free to come and knock on my door. I'll give you a ride, but I'm not a drug dealer.
Or I'll just give you the URL to the story I wrote about.
Right.
Then we don't have to talk. You could have like a marquee outside your house with your latest stories just rolling through there.
Yeah.
And then you never have to talk to anybody.
Oh, that'd be great. God.
All right. Nissan Armada. Have you driven one yet?
I have not driven one since the last generation. I drove, what's the Infiniti?
The QX80?
The QX80. I drove the QX80, which is the fancy pants version.
Yep.
But I have not driven the Armada, and I know that the Armada's got a new trim now.
It's got a new everything. So all new. We did a thing with Brent Hagen on the podcast, and then I went and did a first drive out in the Tennessee, and it was great. But this one I had for a week here.
Okay.
And in fact, thanks.
And you didn't come and visit me?
I got deathly sick after Dakar and was in bed most of the week. So I didn't, I was going to go out in your neck of the woods to go get some photos of it off road. I didn't even get to, and then that was the week the fires happened.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like everything was just bad that week. So I didn't get as many miles on it. But when you are a journalist and they fly you and it's a controlled environment, you go and test these things. It's great. But when you get it in your own streets, your own backyard,
different.
that pothole about, those dips that about, and I've said it before on the show, like I'm blown away that it is literally the best vehicle Nissan makes right now. Like it is so good, and it's better than a Tahoe. The air suspension, and here's the thing about air suspension, you really have to pair it with adaptive shocks because air suspension is really hard to tune because as it heats up, the air pressure changes. Just going through, dips and things like that, air pressure change. Like next week I have a Rebel X, and I'm getting a steel spring Rebel X, not a air suspension because I like steel spring off road. Nissan's done an incredible job with the Armada with how well it rides. The ride quality is awesome. Feels solid. This is the same International Patrol, all that.
Patrol.
That you and I will get that joke, but Patrol. That was a funny. I don't think we'll tell it on this one, but that was Morocco. I'll say that much. And this, I had the Pro 4X trim, so they're going to give me the Platinum Reserve down the line.
Ooh, that's yeah.
Yeah, and that has like the self-driving and all that kind of stuff.
There's no self-driving cars on the market today. They are driver's assist.
Driver assisted. Blah
Doesn't matter. It does not matter what Uncle Elon says. Teslas don't drive themselves.
That's true. They well, he doesn't want people to say they drive themselves because.
Well, he better figure it out.
Yeah.
No, SpaceX go boom.
So anyway, the Armada Pro 4X is awesome because this is really the first time that we have gotten the Patrol off-road goodies.
Right. Now, Nissan did field our last generation Armada in the Rebel Rally, but it was something that I don't remember his name now. David Page. It was bananas.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that this Pro 4X is not quite that out there with a 6-inch lift.
It's not that high, but it does have adjustable air suspension.
Okay.
And of course, it's got electronic locking rear diff. It's got the underbody metal skid plates. It's got all-terrain tires, all that kind of stuff. It's got a different front fascia with a skid plate that's reshaped, so the off-road model has a better approach angle.
Oh, okay, cool.
Tow hooks, kind of the Nissan Lava Red stuff. And the screens, the dual 14, I think 0.2, 0.3 inch screens in the front are like my Aria, my little electric Nissan. But I'm blown away by this thing. And we've talked about the truck, so I'm not going to go into all the details because we've covered him a lot on the show. I just wanted to point out, like in my own neighborhood and on the streets and around SoCal, I continue to be impressed with the build quality, how tight it was, how easy it was to drive, and that twin turbo V6, you don't miss the V8 at all.
Yeah.
It is like torquey everywhere, and you just step into it. It's so, and then they made it, the intake noise is kind of grumbly. So it's quiet until you get into it, and then it feels like really burning. Like, yeah. So anyway, I loved it.
Okay, that's great. I mean, I have not been in it. I'm looking at the redesign right now on the Nissan website. I mean, it looks pretty good. It's a 3-row family SUV, but when you can get it in that Pro 4X, you're going to be able to easily get out to your little cabin, come out to
National Park. Go to
Parks.
Joshua Tree out by you, and then go hit up the backcountry or Death Valley or something like that. It's got enough ground clearance, and it's got all that. It's the Pro 4X is commensurate to the Tahoe Z71. I think the Expedition, they either have the Timberline or the FX4. I don't know if they have one or the other now. I think it's Timberline.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Ford's kind of moved around on their off-road packages.
Because some of them are Tremors now too. So
yeah, and then the Sequoia. The Sequoia has the TRD Pro version as well. So there's a lot of manufacturers. No matter who you are, they're all trying to get in the off-road space. Even LA Auto Show, seen Hyundai with their XRT, and they're trying to make a crossover with no low-range look, beefy and the tires and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a trend. So it's nice to see when a manufacturer does more than what's really required to give people a great vehicle that has some serious capability. And the screens are awesome. We did this test where they covered the windshield with a blanket and then used the cameras on the screen to navigate, because the cameras have the full width front view.
And you can have like the invisible hood.
Invisible hood, all that.
Right.
Yeah. So we drove through this obstacle course by only using the cameras on the screen.
Oh my God, that'd be super scary.
Really cool. No, it was awesome. So anyway, that's what was in Holman's driveway, and a great week. I wish I would have driven it more, but unfortunately so much stuff going
But
on.
unfortunately, you were
SoCal.
throwing up and pooping. So.
Yeah, and people's houses were getting burned, and I gotta say this: you and I both live in SoCal, and lots of people checking in on me. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, a lot of listeners, a lot of friends. I'm at the beach in Orange County, about 30 miles south of where all the fires happen. We do know people who were affected, but definitely our hearts, prayers go out, and there's to see the community come together in SoCal.
Yeah.
Whether it's the schools, the churches, organizations, to support people who lost their homes.
Amazing.
Yeah,
It's pretty amazing.
the photos don't do justice. If you know where those places are, it literally looks like a bomb went off and took out an entire city.
I flew over the Palisades fire when I was coming back from Saudi, and I was like, I'm just stunned. I'm like, the amount of smoke that was coming out there, and we were flying over that stretch in Malibu where there's all those houses were burned out. I'm like, how can the ocean get on fire? Like I
know.
don't get it.
Yeah,
I'm not smart enough.
it was definitely not good. And we're not out of the woods yet because there's still active fire and there's still a few wind days that are in the forecast. So just appreciate everybody checking in. We're good. Emme lives out in the desert where nothing burns, so that's good. But no, in all seriousness, definitely want to do a shout out. And just if there's anything that the Truck Show Podcast can do, please shoot me a note. truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. So, dude, thank you for coming and hanging out with me.
I'm so glad I finally got to see the pod shed. Even though you only gave me one Diet Dr. Pepper, and now I'm going to have to go buy another one on the way
Sorry.
home.
I'll give you a full strength one because you need
want
to
a
wake
full strength-
up.
I don't need a full strength one.
So, okay, so look around the pod shed. Like
I'm looking.
What do you like?
I'm looking.
Tell the people. What do you see? What's the most impressive with this thing?
Well, if I were an alcoholic, I'd say the amount of whiskey that's on that desk right there. No, but look, you're an intellectual. You have a bookcase full of books that look to be very, very interesting, although I can't read the titles from here because I'm blind.
Yep, those are all my historical books from the Mojave Desert Heritage and Cultural Association.
Oh, that's great.
And my map book. So I come in here and I do my planning for trips and stuff on the desk.
Yeah, and then you have a whole selection of Hot Wheels that you said were given to you by some listeners, which is pretty cool. I do enjoy that you've got this little corner here for just little trinkets and tchotchkes and those kinds of things. And then you have like a whole podcast setup, like it's like a real thing with like real mics and everything.
Isn't that crazy? I can do
so
4
weird.
people at once. I got cameras now. I've got like this little control center and the board. It's fun.
You even have AMSOIL branded glass cleaner.
I do. Oh, seriously? Okay, so this is. I love this stuff. We've talked about on the show, right? This is. I did not pay you to say this.
No, you
but
didn't.
This glass cleaner foams and it doesn't streak. And I love it. I use it on everything. I use it on my screens. I use it on
because you cleaned up my camera on my computer and you were
with
like,
it.
look, now I can actually
and
see
now
you.
because when we turn it on, you look fuzzy.
Well, but that's better because then then I actually look, like I'm a decent human being that hasn't been up for 16 hours.
That's a stretch.
What?
Not the 16-hour part.
What? You mean looking like an actual human being?
Oh my gosh! I'm so happy to have none other than Emme Hall here in the pod shed.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
All right, don't forget to follow us on social. So at Emme.
Emme.
All right, and at Truck Show Podcast and at Sean P. Holman. And we want to hear from you. So the 5-star hotline 657-205-6105. And again, I left a new message, our first message in the last new message in the last 6 years. So it doesn't take as long for you to get to the beep. So please check in, leave us a message, and then don't forget to join our new Facebook group, the Podshed Insiders. And so lots of you guys, we have over 200 members in there. It's awesome to see you guys posting and interacting with each other and sharing pictures of your vehicle. So the Podshed Insiders, send me your events. I'll get it up there. And just have to say thank you to everybody for all your support. We're kicking off this year awesome. You guys sent so many great letters, feedback, notes about the Mike Rowe episode. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you, Nissan, for being the presenting sponsor of the Truck Show Podcast. Thank you, AMSOIL. Thank you, EGR USA. And thank you, Kershaw Knives. Don't forget to go to truckshowpodcast.com where you can go to our featured products page and get a discount and see what we have to offer on the podcast.
5-star review. 5 stars.
We do need 5-star reviews, though. That's one of the things that we, now that I am doing this and switching over, I need you guys again. I need you guys on Spotify and Apple.
I know. You got to make sure that you're satisfying everybody in your realm here so you can get those dollar bills.
I know. I gotta be able to pay for this this beautiful house that I have and all that whiskey.
Yeah, your beautiful grown-up house.
I just love that you came in. You're like, you have a grown-up house.
That's so weird. I don't understand but you're such a child.
I know. I still feel like I'm 25. Do you ever feel like where you wake up and you see that person in the mirror,
Yes,
like,
and
not
you're
me?
like, what the hell
Yeah.
happened? I mean, listen, I've had gray hair now for a while, and I do love it. But sometimes I look at myself and I'm like,
You know what's funny is I remember you from when you didn't have gray hair.
But see, I think it was always gray. I just
You
always
dyed
bleached
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was super bleached for a while.
Well,
I
you
don't
had
know
brown for a while.
It was brown, but
Yeah.
for a while it was like white.
I look
with,
at
like,
pictures. I have like
purple.
50 pictures of us drinking Dr. Pepper at various things over the last 20 years. And I have to laugh because like my beard is so like dark.
I
And
know.
now I'm like, my
Your
beard looks like
beard
your
is so
face.
white. Wait, your beard looks like my face.
Yeah, my
No.
face looks like your face. No.
We should go.
Well, it is late. We're getting punchy now.
Oh my God, what a wonderful Friday night.
I appreciate you. You know, this I could have been out drinking and smoking cigars with my friends, but I chose
You
to
don't have friends.
But I chose to spend it with you.
Oh, friends. I don't have any friends.
Well, go home.
All right.
Nice to see you.
All right, let me mean it. Bye.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis, hosted by Sean Holman, and uses production elements by DJ Omar Khan and Jay Tillis. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and leave us a 5-star review. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to support the show than by sharing it and patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.
Emme loves her soda light, Diet Dr. Pepper every night. Home and shouts, Dr. Pepper is king. In this bubbly fight, they take a swing. She farts loud and he just grins. In her off-road Miata, she aims to win. Holman revs his V8 for the roar. In the dust, they go to war. Soda bubbles cause this clash. Who will win this childish bash? Laughing hard and belching loud. A pointless race with no crowd. Emmy's tough, she scares the boys. Holman cheers amidst the noise. Two friends in a fizzy fight, chastising each other through the night. Riding wild through the desert sand. This epic thirst is out of hand. Diet versus classic flavor. Neither side will ever surrender. Soda bubbles cause this clash. Who will win this childish bash? Laughing hard and belching loud. A pointless race with no crowd. Riding wild through the desert sand. This epic thirst is out of hand. Diet versus classic flavor. Neither side will ever surrender. Soda bubbles caused this clash. Who will win this childish bash? Laughing hard and belching loud. A pointless It's a race with no crowd.
You are the worst
I know.
person I know.
I know.